Morning, church. Almost forgot what I need to do when I'm up here. It's been 3 weeks since I've preached. Glad you've chosen to join us this morning here, either in person or online. God bless you for being here. My prayer is that you are blessing others from the overflow of God's blessing on your life. Pray that's what you're doing. So this morning I'm starting a 4-week series on community. I've come up with a title called Better Together. You probably haven't heard that before. And I'm sure you've heard that phrase many times before. And it just so happens that Chris Shandoval, he sent me a song a couple of weeks ago that I think is perfect for this series. I'd love you to listen to it and pay close attention to the lyrics, okay? And then I'll come back up again.
Feeling lost when you're away, and now it feels like 1,000 days. I tell myself I can live with the changes. Truth is my soul can't take it. You know that nothing will keep us apart. Oh, it's better when we're together. These are the moments that take me home. Oh, it's better when we're together. I feel your heartbeat just like my own. Better together, yeah. Better together. Feel it more in the dead of night, when the moon hangs in an empty sky. I try to sleep, but my mind is racing. You're the only dream I'm chasing. You know that nothing will keep us apart. Nothing will keep us apart. Oh, it's better when we're together. These are the moments that take me home. Oh, it's better when we're together. I feel your heartbeat just like my own. Better together, yeah. Better together. There's miles between us now, but we'll make it somehow. Oh, it's better when we're together. These are the moments that take me home. Oh, it's better together. Better together. These are the moments that take me home. Oh, it's better together. We're together. I feel your heartbeat just like my own. Better together. Better together.
If you were ever at any of the 3 Chop Zoom meetings, or you missed them, that's what you missed, right? I thought a perfect video. If you didn't catch some of the lyrics, this is what they were singing. Feeling lost when you're away, an hour feels like 1,000 days. I can tell myself I can live with the changes. Truth is, my soul can't take it. You know that nothing will keep us apart. Oh, we're better when we're together. These are the moments that take me home. Oh, it's better when we're together. I feel your heartbeat just like my own. The group was called Unsecret, and the song is called Better Together. Google it, YouTube it. So last week, Dave preached to us, one of our shepherds, Dave, and he said this at the end of the sermon. He said this: wherever we go from here, we go together. Do you remember him saying that? I hope you did, and if you didn't, I'm reminding of you now, because it's a really good biblical teaching, a really good biblical idea, because we're in this together. And the leadership, as you know now, have been talking about Better Together for close to 2 years. And the heart of what we're getting at is this, is relationships. Relationships between older and younger members, just relationships in general, but relationships between older and younger members. Now listen to some of the research that goes along with this Better Together idea. Listen to the research. Research tells us that young adults who continue their involvement in a local church beyond their teen years are twice as likely as those who don't have a close personal friendship with an older adult in their faith community. Did you hear that? 59% versus 31% among church dropouts. When asked to describe their vision of an ideal church, listen, 78% of millennials chose community over privacy. Community over privacy. A guy called Jared Wilson asked this question, and I'm going to get you to respond to it, okay? If you had to choose, what do you think is a priority for young people when they're looking for a church home? What is the priority for young people when they're looking for a church home? And here's the 4 areas: theology, worship, teaching, and community. Before I put the answers up, or the highest percentages of each of them, which one do you think is priority for young people when they're looking for a church home? Which one do you think has got the highest percentage? I heard community. Anyone else? Was it because I told you not so long ago it was community? Well, okay. Here's the percentages. 11% on theology, 17% on worship, 15% on teaching, and 57% are saying we want community. It doesn't mean that they don't care about theology or worship or teaching. What they're saying is what we're looking for in a church home is community. We want community. So church leaders and older members, we need to pay attention to what the younger generation are saying when it comes to this is priority for us. When we're looking for a church home, we are looking for community. And you see, if we want to continue building the church here, we need to have more young people here at this church, wouldn't you agree? So we need to focus on community, and that's why the leadership here have been saying for almost 2 years now, we're better together. So if we're going to be better together, and not just as a church family, if we're going to be better together, living in community with one another, in the church and outside the church, with Christians and with non-Christians, we need to have some kind of Bible verses as a foundation for what we believe. And this is one Bible verse that we'll look at this week. If that will change. If it doesn't, Matt, can you change that for me, please? There you go. If you can jump it back one. It's John 15. John 15:12. This is Jesus speaking to us. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. Okay, so let's unpack these verses a little bit. Let's do some exegetical work and see what we can learn about being better together, living in community with Christians and with non-Christians, with older people and with younger people, okay? So Jesus speaks of his commandment. It's personal, it's his, and he wants to give it to someone else. He's going to give it to his disciples, of course. And so when Jesus speaks this way, this is my commandment. This is what I'm asking you to do. This is what he's saying. This is the Greek language here. He's giving his disciples an order. He's given them a charge. He's given them a precept. He's given them a command. And the command is that they love each other. Oh, big deal, right? They might be thinking to themselves, Well, we do love each other. I've got that down pretty well. I love people and I love other people. But Jesus' commandment one more time, it's personal, and he's giving it to his disciples. Think relationship here, okay? He's had this relationship for several years with these followers of his disciples, his friends, and he's saying, I want you to love people, other people, like I have loved you. So there's relationship here. Here's a personal Jesus saying, here's my command to you, my friends and disciples, and I want you to live out the kind of love that I've given to you. There's another relationship. Can you see that there? Jesus' relationship with his disciples, the disciples having relationships with other people, and they are to love these other people the way Jesus has loved them. Now listen closely, okay? This love is needed. This love is needed if we're going to be better together, living in community with those in the church and outside the church, with Christians and people who are not Christians. This love is needed. Now watch this. Don't miss this, okay? What we see going on in the world today, and what we will probably always see going on, we would all have to agree with Jesus' command here, that if we love one another and we seek the other person's highest good, all relationships would be better, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? Well, of course they would. Even if I was the one in the relationship and I was the only person seeking the other one's highest good, the relationship would be much better anyway. So let me ask you this for your consideration. How are you doing in seeking the other person's highest good? That's agape love, seeking the other person's highest good. This is agape love that Jesus is talking about here. How are you doing in seeking the other person's highest good, the Christian or the non-Christian? How are you doing in seeking their highest good? I'm asking about relationships in the church and relationships out of the church. I'm talking about relationships with Christians and relationships with non-Christians. How are you doing in loving your neighbor? See, Jesus' command is a continual command to love, not a one-time love. Oh, I loved them once, I don't need to love them again. No, this is an ongoing love, he says. And love, as you know, is a fruit of the Spirit. And it's an action word. Someone wrote a book one time called Love Does. I know who it is, but I just want you to know that I'm just saying I don't know who it is. He wrote a book called Love Does, and maybe another book, or Love Continues to Do, or something like that. Jesus tells his disciples, you need to continue to love people. Love people the way that I have loved you. And I'm sure the disciples thought to themselves before they heard the way I love you, the way I've loved you, they might have thought to themselves, man, I've got this love thing down. Do you think that? We got this love thing down. I love people. I love everybody. And then Jesus takes it one step further and he says, I want you to love other people. Seek their highest good the way I have loved you. I'm sure that got their attention, wouldn't you think? Because we would say, we are loving people. We love all kinds of people. And Jesus takes it one step further and says, I want you to agape love people. I want you to seek their highest good the way I have sought their highest good. I'm sure they thought to themselves, I'm doing okay. And the next minute there was a collective gulp. Or maybe someone spat out their drink. He said, what? What have I got to do? I got to love people the way he is loving. And I believe that this is a reference to the cross. And I think it's going to be referenced in the next verse when we hear this, lay down your life for other people. This is the kind of love he's calling us to love with. But let me pause for a moment and ask you this question. Is Jesus the Lord over your life? Now, that might be a strange question to ask you. But is Jesus the Lord over your life? See, in the busyness of religious life, we need to remember why we live the way we do. Why are we living the way we do? Why do we love the way we do? You see, we need to have the right foundation, and the right foundation needs to be built on the right person. And the right person is Jesus Christ. Not the church, Jesus Christ. See, when the Bible talks about Jesus being Lord, it means He has power. It means He has authority. It means He's the master. He is the owner, and we, His followers, are the ones that He owns, who has authority and power over us, and says, this is how you are to live as my people. We are not our own. 1 Corinthians 6:19 says this, you're familiar with. Listen to it. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore honor God with your body. Titus 2:14, speaking of Jesus, says this, who gave Himself for us to redeem us. There's the buying back thing. To redeem us from all wickedness and to purify for Himself a people who are His very own. And those people are eager to do what is good. So to redeem us and free us, Jesus had to pay a price. And the Greek meaning of the word redeem has the idea of paying a certain price to secure the freedom of slaves or prisoners of war. And if we think about this, wouldn't you agree that before we met Jesus, that we were all slaves? We were all slaves to sin and prisoners of war between the good and evil. We've got the choice to do good, and sometimes we choose it. We got the choice to do evil, and sometimes we do that. We were prisoners of war in this sort of tug of war back and forth between good and evil until Jesus comes and He pays a price and He frees us from it. Wouldn't you agree that we were all slaves to sin? My point is, from these two verses is that Jesus owns us. Jesus has authority, power over our lives. That's what we mean when we say that is Jesus, or asking the question, is Jesus the Lord over our lives? So my question needs to be answered that I asked. Is Jesus the Lord over your life? All of your life, not just a piece of it, all of it. Is He Lord over your life? If we answer yes to that question, how would a stranger, not a friend, how would a stranger know that Jesus is the Lord, master, owner over your life? How would a stranger know that? See, I believe the answer is found in our daily choices. The answer to the question is found in my life's priorities. What will we choose when we've got a choice between two things? What I want to do and what I want my family to do, or what God wants me to do and what God wants my family to do. What will you choose? See, how we answer that daily will be the fruit of, is Jesus the Lord over my life? And if the daily answer is yes, then we will obey the command to love people, agape people, seek their highest good. That's when we'll do it. When we say yes daily to Jesus is the Lord over all my life. When I've got a choice between two things, I'm picking God each time. I'm picking the right thing each time. Does that make sense? Am I making sense to you, church? So at the beginning of this lesson then, I made mention of what young people are looking for at a church, for a church home, and community was the highest percentage area. So young people want to live in community with other people. And so young Christians who connect and engage with older Christians have a much higher percentage to remain connected to Jesus and the church as they get older. And this is where older Christians, agape love, seek highest good for the younger generation Christians. They seek their highest good. This is an opportunity for older members and church leaders to agape love the younger Christians. So this week or last week, weeks are blending, I asked some of the younger families here at this church this question. What are you looking for from older members and leaders as you do shared life with them? What are you looking for from the older generation that will help you in your walk with God? Older members and church leaders, listen to what they're saying. Listen to the language that the younger generation are speaking. I'll try and summarize what they said, but listen to the language, okay, that they're using. Engage us. Connect with us. Let us know that we're needed and wanted. Mentor us, but also be friends with us. Love us where we are. Listen to us. Make us feel valued. Don't ignore us. Share your lives with us. Be intentional about sharing your successes and failures, both past and present. Answer questions like this. Why do you believe what you do? And how did you come to that conclusion? Answer questions like this. How have you overcome sin, both in the past and in the present? Share your wisdom and experience with us, and also ask us about our spiritual lives too, not just how our marriages are doing, how the kids are. Ask us about our spiritual lives too. I believe I summarized what our younger people are saying that's important for them. And that would also tie in with the research data I gave you at the beginning of the lesson. So, as older members and leaders, what should we be doing now so that we can be better together for the younger generation? What should we be doing now to live in community and have shared life together? Here's a few ideas from Chuck Lawless. This is what he says. Spend time with young people who have an interest in your profession. Here, that common interest provides the basis for conversation. And the conversation then can lead to a friendship and mentoring and discipleship and investment. You might even want to invite them to your workplace. Here's another thing to do. Invite a younger believer to lunch. You don't have to have an agenda. Just buy them lunch, or let them buy you lunch and build a relationship. You can learn a lot from people over a meal. Here's another thing you can do. Invite a younger couples for a meal at your home. Just a few hours of watching how you treat your spouse and raise your children can be a life-changing event to younger believers who have never had a Christian role model. Here's another thing you can do, older people and church leaders. Take a younger believer to a sporting event with you when they open again. And here's why Chuck Lawless says you should do that. If you want them to really see your Christianity in action, have young believers around you when the traffic is crazy or the referee makes a bad call against your team. Here's another thing you can do. Read a book together. Some younger people are great readers, some aren't so great readers, but maybe they need to be spurred on, and maybe you can suggest a book where both of you can read together, spend a little bit of time together, learning from each other about a particular group. Here's one of the last things I want to share with you, or Chuck wants to share with us. Commit to praying regularly for a young believer. It might surprise you how praying for someone daily, which requires conversation and relationship to then know what you need to pray for, how that can lead to mentoring and discipleship and friendship and linking arms together. So what's our next step then in this community? As a way to stimulate your thinking, let me ask you this. Older members and church leaders, what steps have you taken to seek the highest good of the younger generation? What steps have you taken to seek their highest good, to agape love them? What steps have you taken to agape love the younger generation? Older members and church leaders, let me put a little bit more fire in you. I know you've got fire ready, but let me just give you a little bit more. Let me fill up the tank a little bit more. Let me tell you this, and believe this. God is not done with you yet. Younger members, church leaders, God's not done with you yet. you have much to offer the younger generation. If that's all you do until God calls you home, pour yourself and everything you know about God and living life with all your wisdom and all your experience into this younger generation. Because the more opportunities the younger generation have to be around you, the higher the percentage it is for them that they stay connected to Christ and the church as they continue to grow in their walk with God. Does that make sense? So older members and church leaders, continue taking the next steps in engaging and connecting and sharing your life experience and wisdom with the younger generation. Because here's the reality. The reality is we can be together in a building, but disconnected emotionally and spiritually in that building. So continue to dream and scheme. Continue to dream and scheme. Dream big, scheme big, agape love big, seek the other's highest good big, and don't stop. Why? Don't stop. Because we're better together. Amen? God bless you in your believing and in your living life being better together.